Welcome to episode 2 of the series called Building a Real Wrap Application Step by Step. In this episode, we will continue and finish with user story number 1. We will focus on the service exposure and the first UI preview of our wrap application. In the previous episode, we focused purely on the data model. We created the persistence and interface views and laid down a solid foundation without touching the UI yet. The main step we'll go through are starting with projection views, then defining and building the service, and finally adding the minimum UI annotations required to render a usable Fiori application. At this stage, the application will be read-only, and that's completely intentional. With that in mind, let's switch to the system and implement everything step by step. Okay, before we start working on our projection views, I want to extend our interface CDS view and add an additional attribute called status criticality, which based on the status, whether it's not started, in process or completed, it will set a value 2, 3 or 1. So for now let's just activate it and that's it. Now let's go here and create our projection view. Let's call it the ZC_request. Let's use the template for a projection view. Let's add the root addition here. Here I'm creating the projection view on top of the interface view. Notice that I'm not redefining the data model. The projection simply controls what is exposed to the outside world, in our case the UI. This separation allows us to keep the core model stable while adapting the exposed view to the UI needs. In our case, we won't care much about exposing, for example, these 3 fields, so we can wipe them out. Let me now define the provider contract, which will specify the scenario in which we will be using our CDS projection view. In our case, I will set it as a transactional query, which means that our projection is intended for modeling the projection layer of our wrap BO. Let's now create the other projection view. We will also avoid exposing the 3 attributes. And let's see, reference information missing or data type wrong. Okay, this is pointing to quantity. This means we are missing the annotation for the UOM. Okay, but as you can see, it's already here. Okay, I guess you see here we have the metadata ignore propagation. Let's wipe this out and we should get this solved. Perfect. Why is this? Because we have here an annotation saying to ignore bringing previous annotations into this view. So we don't want that to happen. We want to take it out. We will also remove it out from this one. Yes. What else we will do? We will say here, we will specify so this navigates between the projection views. Let's now activate both. Perfect. At first glance, interface views and projection views often look almost identical. As you can see here, if you would ignore the non-exposed fields and the annotations, you will see they look almost the same. Well, that's actually expected, especially in a simple scenario like this one. The key difference is not what they contain, but the responsibility. Interface views represent the core business model. They are designed to be stable, reusable, and independent from any specific consumer. Projection views, on the other hand, exist purely for consumption. They define how that core model is exposed to the UI, to services, or to external consumers. This separation becomes critical over the time. The business model can remain stable while projection views evolve as UI or API requirements change. Now that the projection view is ready, we can define the service. The service definition simply lists which entities are exposed. There is no UI logic here and no behavior yet. It's just a declaration. Choose the define service template. And here we simply expose our two projection views. Let's activate. Let's right click here. Let's create the new service binding. With the service binding, the service becomes now executable. I'm using an OData before binding, which allows us to immediately preview the application using Fiori elements. So let's pick here OData before UI. Service definition already in place. Let's activate. Once activated, we can proceed to publish it. Now you see here unpublished. So let's publish it. Okay, let's click on the request and let's click on preview. Okay, this is what we get. Add columns to see the content. Yeah, it looks like there is nothing in here. Let's see, external ID, priority, status. Okay, yeah, we can go. No data found, which is correct. Yeah. At this point, we already have a working application. It's read-only, but fully navigable. This is intentional. Behavior and draft handling will come later. But we should improve this because we do not expect user to come each time he or she comes in to click on the icon to add columns. This should be automatically. Yeah, we should have, and we will do this, we will fix this by having some metadata extensions. In order to achieve this, let's go back to our CDS, our projection views. Let's add here the annotation metadata allow extensions true. We will add the same line here on the request item projection view. This will allow us to have our metadata extensions. Yeah, let's activate. Okay, let's right click here and select new metadata extension. We will call it ZC request. Okay, let's start by selecting the layer. As it's custom, we will use core. Let's start by adding the annotations, the UI annotations for the header. I personally like, instead of going one by one, I prefer copying all these. We start by simply hiding those that we don't need, such as this one. Then let's add for the external ID. Let's add how the labels will look like. Let's also add for the external ID. So we will indicate where we want the field to be positioned in the column of this report here, but also in which position we want to appear on the object page. So what we will do here is also we will use UI. Whenever we use line item, we are saying which is the column that will be used here in the list report. In this case, we want position 10. And then we will say identification for indicating which is the position that should take on the object page. which in this case is also position 10. And in this case, for last change add, we will only expose it on the list report. Let's see how it goes. So we will now proceed with the metadata extension for the request item. However, we won't be able to test it until the moment where we can, or where we have the ability of creating entries. But anyway, let's do it right now. Before we jump into the metadata extension of the request item, we'll have to do an adjustment here, which is adding a facet or adding two facets. Basically, the facets are the tabs that we will see on the object page once we click on a request. Also, as part of the UI, I will copy and paste them. So basically what I'm saying here is create two facets, one called request and one called request items. They are both for a standard purpose. This one, the first one is identification reference. We will see it with one way. And then the request items, we want to show it as a table. This will be pointing to items, which is the way we called it, yeah, here. So let's right click on the ZC request item projection view and generate the metadata extension. So now let's activate. Yeah, so at this point some of you may be asking yourself, why have I created a separate metadata extension instead of annotating directly on top of the projection views? And that's a very valid question. As a rule of thumb, annotations that affect consumption semantics such as search, filters, value helps, texts go into the projection views. So far we haven't added any annotation on the projection view, but starting from user story number 2, which is next episode, we will be adding search capabilities and value helps, so we will be adding some annotations here on the ZC request projection view. But for this episode, where we are touching purely visual annotations like field order, visibility, grouping, labels, or similar UI aspects, we have to add them into I prefer adding them into a metadata extension and keeping them separate. I personally prefer keeping UI configurations separate from the data model, and that's how we will be separating annotations throughout this entire course. With this, user story number 1 is completed. The service is exposed, the UI is in place, and the application already feels like a real project. In the next episode, we'll start working on user story number 2 and introduce search capabilities. But before that, we will add draft support and begin implementing the behavior definition. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next episode.